often say happiness is a feeling, and others say it's a choice. So which one is it? Is happiness a feeling or a choice? When I hear that question, I initially have a lot of baggage that comes up. Growing up in the church, I feel like happiness was not something that was allowed to be pursued. There were a lot of comments of like, happiness is fleeting. We need to choose joy. Joy and happiness are different and they're like opposites. Joy is a choice, not a feeling. And it may not have been explicitly said, but it was understood that therefore happiness is bad. Happiness is not something to chase after. Happiness is not something to be desired. And so that's what my initial thoughts are when we approach a question like this.
Over the last few years, as we've been learning more about what it means to become whole and authentic people, we have been fighting to gain a new perspective and a new mindset in this area. And I think a lot of times when people ask the question, is happiness a feeling or a choice, they're kind of talking about two different things. Because if we say, when we're talking about happiness being a choice, typically people mean control your thoughts, choose happiness, or do these things. We're talking about controlling what our thoughts are thinking about. But happiness is also just a feeling. It just is, and it just exists.
Yeah, so happiness is an emotion. It's a feeling. We would say that emotions actually cannot be controlled because it's the initial signal that your body says of what's happening. If something happens to you, you feel angry, you feel happy, you feel envious. And then from there, that's when either your mind takes over or your body takes over and you start to decide, what am I going to do with this? And so in that sense, emotions cannot be controlled because they're just there. So for example, if you haven't seen your best friend in 2 years and then they fly in and you meet at the airport, your initial emotion when you see them is happiness, is excitement. It's just there. Or if you see a butterfly floating across the sky, that would bring up feelings of happiness or wonder. So that is not something that you choose. It's just there.
While happiness is definitely a feeling that just is a natural occurrence to what is going on, there is that aspect of happiness also being something that we can choose. Because studies do show that the things that we tend to dwell on and think about are the things that tend to be expressed in the way that we live our lives. So there is something to be said about what we choose to center our thoughts on. The more that we choose to think about things that are happy or positive or joyful, the more our lives will tend to be centered that way. I think the difficulty in this conversation comes because so often we see it as an either or. It's either a feeling or it's a choice. And if we do just one, like if we say it's just a choice, then we're denying part of the reality of the human experience. And instead of allowing us to feel those normal human feelings and emotions of a given situation or a moment, we basically tell ourselves and other people to stuff that down, to pretend like it doesn't exist, to choose something that is not in alignment with what is actually happening in reality. So I do think it's important that we have both. We have to allow ourselves to experience the happiness that is the feeling and the emotion, and to teach our brains how to think and choose happy and positive and joyful thoughts.
So to answer this big, huge question, we would say it is both. There is no yes or no answer. It's not just a feeling. It's not just a choice. It is both. In learning how to be a whole person, be an authentic person, we need to learn from whatever side we're coming from how to cultivate both the feelings of human experience and happiness, and to cultivate the mindset where we can shape what we're taking in and say, this is how I need to think about it so that I can have a positive life, a positive mindset towards the things that are coming at me. Okay, here we go.
Hello.
Oh, hello there, buddy.
He wants to participate.
He does.
He's like, you want to know what brings happiness? It is I.
It is I. 'Tis I.